the social media platform used by President Trump, changing the narrative of the Gaza conflict. I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan, he went on. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel and all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. He closed by saying simply, "Blessed are the peacemakers." Then signed off, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, out on Truth Social. It was a bold declaration. If true, it would mark the first time Israel and Hamas have formally agreed, at least in principle, to a phased peace plan under US mediation. The announcement set off waves of debate over both its implications and its credibility. One analyst observed that previous Arab-Israeli breakthroughs, such as between Israel and Egypt or the Abraham Accords, had never involved Hamas, nor included 8 Muslim nations plus Israel and the US in a unified agreement. The very scale of this claimed deal makes it exceptional. From the humanitarian standpoint, it's easy to see why people want to celebrate family reunions, hostages returning, years of fear and uncertainty possibly coming to a close. But as commentators were quick to point out, 2 steps remain that may prove far more difficult: the disarmament of Hamas and its relinquishment of control and weapons. These, they warned, will be the toughest part of any agreement yet. Some Democrats, through a political lens, might argue that real diplomacy happens quietly, not in splashy posts on Truth Social, and that prematurely celebrating outcomes that still need verification could backfire. Still, many across parties could unite behind what appears to be a victory for humanity above partisanship, particularly for those whose loved ones were among the hostages. One voice recalled meeting some of those released earlier under different arrangements, especially children, and the emotional toll their absence has taken on families. That memory, he suggested, could make this moment powerful enough to transcend political divides, even during a time when Congress is fractured over funding and shutdown fights. To fully understand why this announcement, if genuine, is so consequential, one must look back at the weeks of pressure, negotiation and brinkmanship leading up to it. After Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack that left over 1,200 Israelis dead and scores taken hostage, Israel responded with a sustained and devastating military campaign in Gaza. Over the years, ceasefires and prisoner exchanges have come and gone, but violence has repeatedly resumed. This latest push for peace is rooted in a revived 20-point plan introduced by Trump in September 2025. That plan called for an immediate ceasefire, the return of hostages, demilitarization of Hamas, and temporary international oversight of Gaza's governance. It also proposed that after some days, Israeli troops would roll back to agreed lines and reconstruction would be overseen by multiple nations. On October 3rd, Trump publicly issued an ultimatum to Hamas: accept or face all hell. Negotiations that followed took place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, involving US envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who played key roles in earlier peace efforts, and representatives from Israel, Qatar, Egypt, Turkey and Hamas. At the heart of the talks were 3 deeply contentious issues: hostage release, how many, when, under what conditions, troop withdrawal and territorial lines, how far Israel would pull back the status of Hamas, whether it would surrender weapons and political authority, or how much it could retain influence. As the broadcast team was mid-discussion, the Truth Social post surfaced. Analysts stopped to absorb the gravity. If the document is real, we may be witnessing what could become the most significant diplomatic advance in years in the Middle East. Netanyahu, through his office, responded with a faith-inflected pledge: "With God's help, we will bring them all home." That line became instantly iconic, a moral framing of the agreement and a public vow. Meanwhile, the deal triggered cautious celebration among Israeli hostage families and hopeful optimism among Palestinians and international observers. Yet many insisted this was just phase 1, a beginning, not a conclusion. Global leaders welcomed the development, noting its promise, but emphasizing the need for careful execution. The United Nations, regional Arab states, and Western powers called for full humanitarian access, transparency, and guarantees that hostages would indeed be released. Some media accounts also raised the possibility that the hostages might begin to be released as early as Monday, once lists and timelines are formalized. The Israeli cabinet was expected to convene to approve the terms, triggering the formal countdown to implementation. Even with this breakthrough announcement, many analysts stress that the real work and the real risk begins now. Critically, Hamas must agree to give up its armaments, tunnels, and military infrastructure. That will be deeply contentious for the group, whose identity is bound up in armed resistance. Observers warn that ensuring verification and compliance will be complicated and potentially volatile. Who will govern Gaza during and after the transition? Will it be an internationally supervised technocratic administration, a reformed Palestinian Authority, or something altogether new? The question could turn this deal into a longer-term political battleground. Even if all parties sign off, the task of carrying out troop withdrawals, secure hostages transfers, safe corridors for aid, and rebuilding infrastructure in a devastated Gaza is daunting. Past ceasefires have failed, often because one side accused the other of violations or delays. Cynics point out that many ceasefires in this conflict have cracked under pressure. The track record of past agreements failing raises a legitimate caution. Announcing peace is much easier than sustaining it. But for many, if this holds, even in part, it could represent a turning point. Hostage families, particularly those who have watched for years, may finally see the return of loved ones once thought lost. Diplomats may point to this as evidence that even entrenched conflicts can be channeled toward negotiation and compromise. One emotional observation from a commentator: imagine being a parent who feared your child might never return. What would it feel like to get that child or the body back again? The human dimension of this deal is what many hope will carry it through its rough edges. History will remember this as a moment of peril and hope. Should the announced terms translate into reality, it may represent the boldest US diplomatic intervention in the Gaza conflict to date. A decree from Truth Social, yes, but potentially one with consequences far beyond tweets and headlines. Yet, as observers caution, peace is not sealed by signatures alone. What matters is what comes next: the withdrawal of troops, the safe transfer of hostages, the reduction of arms, the structure of governance, and a commitment by all sides to abide by the terms. If even some of this succeeds, it will be a rare ray of light in a region long mired in cycles of violence. If it fails, it will underscore how fragile and elusive peace can be in the Middle East. Blessed are the peacemakers, he said. Now the world waits to see whether that blessing will come to pass. With God's help, we will bring them all home.